Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Burby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Good day, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Let's get to the news in detail. If President Irfan Ali and Natural Resources Minister Vikram Bharat made commitments to release the reports of Canadian lawyer Alison Redford on ExxonMobil's projects, then they should do so. This statement was made by Vice President Bharat Jagdeo last Friday. We had asked the former president to explain why the reports by the Canadian lawyer have not been made public despite the government's promise to do so. Redford authored two reports. The first review report was done in August of 2020 on the field development plan for the Payara project and the Yellowtail FDP. Importantly, the reviews of Payara and Yellowtail were completed in 42 and 52 days respectively. The government came in for harsh criticism from several industry experts who noted that no proper review can be done in such a short space of time, while adding that Redford has no track record in this highly technical field. While Jagdeo did acknowledge the need for the government officials to honor their statement commitments, he also noted that the reports following a review process is not where the public's focus should be. He said it is the production licenses that represent the final word of the government. In other news, Ian McDessie, a 27-year-old squash player of Guyana, was killed on Sunday, and his friend is in a critical condition after a drunk driver reportedly jumped a traffic light and crashed into their car at the intersection of Lissington Road and Sandy Bab Street, Kitty, Georgetown. McDessie's friend has been identified as 31-year-old Sheikh Baksh of Dowding Street, Kitty. Baksh is currently hospitalized at the Georgetown Public Hospital with a broken arm, lacerations to his head, and a punctured lung. According to information received, McDessie and Baksh met with the accident around 2 hours 15. The driver remains in custody and is expected to face charges in the coming week. McDessie is a well-known squash athlete in Guyana, and at the time of his death, he was an active participant in the ongoing Guyana Squash Association organized 2021 to 2022 Squash League. And moving on, Environmental Resources Management, or ERM, a London-based consultancy firm that has been conducting all of the environmental impact assessments required by ExxonMobil for their Guyana-based operations to date, has hired experts to conduct those studies who have worked with the oil company for years. One of the experts at ERM, the Guyana Program Lead Partner in Charge, Mr. Todd Hall, has over 25 years of broad experience in environmental consulting. David Blaha, another partner in charge at ERM, has also worked for ExxonMobil in the past. According to his bio, Blaha has extensive experience in multimedia permitting of large and often controversial infrastructure projects. Environmentalists had questioned the independence and credibility of ERM during the public consultations on the Yellowtail development, Exxon's fourth project, since the consultancy firm has been the lone institution to conduct such studies on the oil company's behalf in Guyana. And moving on, local media houses continue to express disappointment over government's poor posture when it comes to transparency and accountability within the oil and gas sector. They registered concerns about the lack of information as well as public education on the oil and gas sector. President of the Guyana Press Association, Nazima Ragubir, said that she thought after the 2020 elections, information on oil and gas would be more forthcoming. She said it was her view that everything involving taxpayers' money should be an open book. She said that since 2015, information was kept quiet under the last government when oil was struck and a contract was signed with ExxonMobil for the development of the resources. She added that while several excuses were offered as to why documents were not made public then, she thought things would have been a bit different post-2020. She added her disappointment toward the lack of education drives that would allow citizens a chance to learn about the new industry. And in Australia, workers across Guyana came out in their numbers in observance of their first Labor Day celebration since the COVID-19 pandemic. Union representatives and their members were able to engage in the usual Labor Day parade through city streets following the event's 2-year hiatus. The Federation of Independent Trade Unions of Guyana, or FITUG, held its May Day rally addressing a number of issues affecting its members. Among those issues is the high cost of living. FITUG's treasurer and president of GAU, C. Paul Narayan, told union members that the cost of living continues to be a matter of concern. He said that given the living cost issues, it was thought that workers would have received the wage increase by now. He added that the government has employed support efforts such as direct grants and fiscal measures on duties for important commodities. This measure undoubtedly is well intentioned, he added, but he believes that it is not reaching the ordinary people. The time has now moved on to 12 hours 8 in Guyana. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio, and this is your News at Noon. We will resume after the break.
Nothing in life is free, but the MyDigiCell app is. You don't need to be on a data plan to use the app. You can conveniently chat with Ruby or an agent for help. Check your account balance. Activate a Prime bundle or gift it to a friend. Send credit. Check the Georgetown and Burpees Bridge schedules. Activate a roaming plan. Play Shake to Win for cool prizes. So don't worry about a data plan, buddy. Download the MyDigiCell app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store today. Digicel, better together.
This is GHK Lal, inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Diana, join me on the Glenn Lal Show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:20 p.m. and a rebroadcast at 11 a.m. The Glenn Lal Show only on Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 and 99.5 FM.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. In the wake of the decision by the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights that the government of Guyana is guilty of violating the rights of citizens of Isineru, the community's leader is hoping that villagers will get full compensation for damages. The villagers also want a cessation of all mining activities. The call for swift action came during a press conference hosted last Friday by Tushao of Isineru village, Danis Larson, and other village officials. 9 years ago, a petition was filed by the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights that the government of Guyana has failed to recognize and protect the human rights of its people when granting mining permits on ancestral lands. According to a complaint, villagers claim that authorities failed to protect the community from the negative impacts of mining, which resulted in a host of health and social issues. And moving on, according to UK-based transparency watchdog Chatham House, it is quite reasonable and even considered normal in the petroleum industry for countries to engage oil companies in the review and removal of terms contained in deals that may leave the country in a disadvantageous position. In fact, the not-for-profit organization said the refusal to do so can have a destabilizing effect on countries. Chatham House is a non-governmental organization whose mission is to analyze and promote the understanding of major international issues and current affairs. The organization, which has worked with local authorities on oil-related matters since 2015, said that new data about a country's reserves may prompt its government to seek to revise the terms of investment to its advantage. This is quite normal, it said. Similarly, Chatham House said that companies sometimes approach governments to ask for a revision of terms to reduce the taxation or operational obligations they face during periods of economic difficulty. And I will tell you, the government has already signaled its intention to use part of its oil money in boosting infrastructure. But some international organizations are advising that Guyana's authorities approach with caution in this regard. Chatham House, for example, has said that producers such as Guyana should consider carefully the capacity of their economy to absorb public spending. The London-based organization said that many countries expect to use petroleum revenues to increase infrastructure spending and the productive potential of the economy. Chatham House said that an effective approach would be to increase such spending slowly, reviewing and evaluating projects, as well as building public investment management capacity over time. And in other news, the Environmental Assessment Board, or the EAB, recently announced that an environmental impact assessment would not be required for the new Demerara River Bridge that will run between Nandi Park on the east bank of Demerara and Lagrange, west bank of Demerara. This was revealed on Tuesday by the EPA. A decision was made back in August last year that the environmental study was not required. However, an appeal was made for the agency to review this decision. The appellant, environmentalist Simone Mangle-Joly, argued in her oral presentations that the EPA needed the engineering designs for the bridge to draw conclusions on likely impacts, and that the EPA failed to justify the waiver with the reasons it published. And to wrap things up, a 27-year-old man reportedly admitted to beating a Latham farmer to death on Friday because the farmer's cows invaded his premises and destroyed his cassava. The dead farmer has since been identified as 59-year-old Cedric Jones of Bashizan, Deep South Rupununi, Region 9. Jones was reportedly killed around 17 hours 20 following an argument with his confessed killer. Jones had reportedly stopped to speak with him, but the suspect confronted him about his cows, and they reportedly got into an argument. Eyewitnesses told the ranks that the suspect then pushed Jones to the ground and kicked him several times until he was motionless. Police had picked up the motionless Jones and took him to the Latham Regional Hospital, where doctors pronounced him dead. With the time now moving on to 12 hours 14, we wrap things up with the page 7 of today's Kaieteur News. Reverse the curse. Guyanese are not fools. We all over time come to realize those who are for us and those who are pretending to have our backs. Guyanese see and Guyanese know who these people are. As the maxim goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Sadly, some Guyanese have surrendered to being fooled, but we are on a mission to reverse the curse of foolishness in this land. For too long, we have seen Guyanese accept this despicable fate, but not anymore. We will show our people the way. We will enlighten them about exactly what's wrong with this country and inform them of what must be done to ensure that they attain a better life for themselves and generations to come. No more will the liars, yourselves, convince our people that a life of poverty is their fate. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising?